I was listening to this debate and my blood has been boiling, and I can't help but stand up and say something now. I think the folks in my district would like their voices to be heard a little bit as well. So a few things. We just heard from the Vice Chair of Budget a few things about House Bill 10, things in House Bill 10 that said are why we should vote for House Bill 11, which I thought was interesting. But I also heard the argument that we hear a lot, that a no vote on one of these bills, a no vote because these bills don't do enough funding, is equivalent to opposing the funding being in there. And that's just nonsense. A no vote is saying we need to do better. A no vote is saying we should vote this down and try again and do it differently. It's saying that this budget does not reflect the values and the morals of our state and the people we represent. That is why I vote no on this bill. Now, I also sat here listening to the conversation about Medicaid expansion. And I think we heard what is really going on here, and that is what we consider to be the welfare of the people. We heard someone arguing that it is more important that we protect taxes that we're already paying as a state than that we make sure that our people have health care, and that is a more important welfare tax dollars than people actually getting treatment when they're sick. Now, it amazes me that when I hear somebody sit here and talk about the federal deficit being their reason to oppose health care, I'm hearing this from a majority in this chamber who widely support the current president of the United States, who has overseen the largest expansion of the federal deficit in our country's history. Yet we don't hear them crowing about the deficit until we talk about health care of the people. We didn't hear crowing about the deficit when we saw a large, major tax cut for wealthy folks and corporations. No. We hear crowing about the deficit when we're talking about health care. Now, these same people also supported the previous Republican administration that also saw the next most significant expansion in the federal deficit. Why? Again, one of the largest tax cuts in the history of our country. For whom? For wealthy Americans and for corporations, dramatically more than for regular people. Did we hear them crowing about the deficit then? No. How about when we had the last two presidents from the Democratic side of the aisle who both oversaw decreases to the deficit? One of whom actually saw a balanced budget. Last time we've seen that at the federal level in our history. But no, those presidents want to invest in healthcare, education, infrastructure. And apparently that's places where taxes are more important. So if we're going to be serious about the deficit, let's talk about making sure we have a balanced budget and revenue that actually fits, rather than continuing to provide tax cuts and subsidies and war spending. If those are the things you care about, we know what your welfare of the people means. We know what it means. It means making sure that people that are working people in our country don't have health care in order to make sure that our corporations and our wealthy folks pay a little less in taxes. Well, guess what? The people I represent don't believe that. The people I represent think that wealthy folks and corporations should pay their fair share and that every single American should have access to health care. Now, we're the state of Missouri. We're not the federal government. So I'm not sure why we're spending all our time talking about these federal issues and the federal budget. The reality here today is, how do we make the most of our dollars in our state? We are paying these taxes to the federal government, and 36 out of 50 states are seeing the benefit of that. Of our tax dollars, of my constituents and your constituents' tax dollars. They are seeing the benefit of their residents having health care. We are not. We are continuing to suffer. Our state is continuing to lose out on billions of dollars of revenue that we are paying anyway, that would go to support these hospitals that are struggling and closing, and that would go to make sure that our people actually can get treatment when they are sick. So if we're going to talk about welfare of people, let's talk about it honestly. If you care more about corporate taxes than you do about health care, so be it. Be honest about it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.